All right, diving into something pretty cool today.
Oh, yeah.
It's this document called Strategic Life Narrative.
Okay.
Basically just someone's personal notes
Uh,
and plans for a book.
Interesting.
But it gets into this whole idea of
Yep.
strategic life narrative.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
For sure, it really builds on their previous work
Okay.
on creative life curation.
So for listeners who
Yeah.
might not be super familiar with that,
Okay.
could you give us a
Of
little
course,
refresher?
creative life curation is
Yeah.
all about shaping your life
Okay.
through this lens of creativity.
Okay.
Recognizing and harnessing
Uh-huh.
past experiences
Right.
to fuel current creative projects.
So using your past to inspire your present.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how does this strategic life narrative?
Well, that's what's so cool about this document.
Okay.
The author is proposing strategic life narrative
Yeah.
as this kind of evolution
Okay.
of creative life curation.
Gotcha.
And they lay out 3 key differences.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
So first, the purpose kind of shifts.
Okay.
Creative life curation focuses on creating works,
Uh-huh.
books, art, inventions, whatever.
Yeah.
Strategic life narrative,
Mm-hmm.
it emphasizes personal growth
Interesting.
and future planning.
So it's less about the output.
Yeah.
More about the journey.
You got it.
Okay, cool.
The second difference is the temporal structure.
Right.
Remember how creative life curation,
Yes.
primarily past-oriented?
It used your past experiences to fuel
Yeah.
your present work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Strategic life narrative,
Okay.
broader approach,
Uh-huh.
encompassing past, present, and future.
So a more holistic
Exactly.
view of time.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the third?
The third one
Yeah.
gets into
Okay.
interpersonal interactions.
Correct.
So creative life curation
Mm-hmm.
started with that personal reflection,
Right.
then expanded outward
Yeah.
to collaboration.
Okay.
But strategic life narrative
Uh-huh.
assumes you're already
Okay.
in this ongoing
Right.
dialogue
Yeah.
and collaboration with others.
Gotcha.
The author recognizes
Okay.
that our narratives are shaped
Mm-hmm.
by our interactions
Right.
with those around us.
So it's like this constant dance
That's a great way to put it.
between your personal growth
Exactly.
and the relationships you cultivate.
Mhm.
Cool. And then,
This is where it gets even more interesting.
okay.
The author introduces this framework
Okay.
called the House of Creative Life Curation.
Hold on. A house?
Not a literal house.
Okay.
It's a metaphorical house.
Gotcha.
With 12 rooms,
Okay.
each representing a different aspect
Okay.
of strategic life narrative practice.
Okay. So it's like,
Think of it like a blueprint,
okay.
a way to visualize,
Yeah, a blueprint for life. I like that.
understand the different friends,
Okay.
facets of your life.
Okay, so what are these 12 rooms all about?
So they're divided into 3 groups.
Okay.
You have your theme rooms,
Okay.
your practice rooms,
Uh-huh.
and your space rooms,
Okay.
just to give you a taste. The theme rooms
Yeah.
include things like creative clues.
Yeah, creative clues.
I'm glad you picked up on that.
That sounds kind of mysterious.
It is.
What are those?
So creative clues
Okay.
are those sparks of inspiration,
Okay.
those aha moments
Right.
that can lead to
Okay.
new ideas and directions in life.
Yeah.
And they can come from these unexpected places.
Yeah, like what?
A chance encounter,
Okay.
a book,
Uh-huh.
a problem you're grappling with.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to be open
Right.
to recognizing
Yeah.
and following those clues.
So it's like those little hints from the universe.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be paying attention to them.
Totally. Okay, what about some of the other rooms?
Well-
Yeah.
There's creative dialogue,
Okay.
which emphasizes the power of conversation
Right.
in shaping our lives.
Makes sense.
Remember how we talked about strategic life narrative?
Yeah.
Assumes we're already engaged in dialogue?
Right, right.
This room dives deeper into that.
You know, this reminds me of something I've been struggling with lately.
Okay?
Just feeling stuck
Mm-hmm.
in a rut creatively.
Yeah.
Do you think creative dialogue
That's a great question.
could be a way to break out of that?
I think it gets to the heart.
You know, like
Yeah,
talking to people could actually spark new ideas.
it really does.
Okay.
It's something you could all benefit from
Right.
exploring.
Yeah, for sure.
But before we go too far down that road,
Okay.
let's jump into
Yeah.
a couple of the other rooms.
Okay, sounds good.
They might just hold the key
All right.
to unlocking even more creative potential.
I'm excited.
Me too. You're so right about that creative dialogue.
Yeah.
Being a way to break free from those ruts.
Right.
It's all about harnessing the power
Mhm.
of conversation
Right.
to generate new ideas,
Okay.
challenge your assumptions,
hmm
and just gain a fresh perspective.
I mean, how many times has a conversation just sparked a breakthrough?
It's almost like magic.
Some of my best ideas have come from brainstorming
For sure.
with other people.
And speaking of journeys,
Okay.
another interesting room
Right.
is the creative journey room.
Okay, this one seems
Yeah.
pretty self-explanatory. I
I-
mean,
well-
life itself is a journey.
Yeah, but the author
Right.
takes it a step further.
Okay.
They define a creative journey
Okay.
as encompassing
Uh-huh.
at least 4 distinct projects.
Okay, so these aren't just like any...
They're like major chapters.
Gotcha.
In your life.
Right.
With their own goals, challenges,
I see.
and triumphs.
So like recognizing the different phases that we go through. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
In my own life, for sure.
Totally.
Like there was a phase where I was just obsessed with learning about podcasting.
Right.
And then there was a phase where I was more focused on, building an audience.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And by viewing your life
Yeah.
through the lens of these distinct projects,
Right.
you can gain those insights into your own evolution and growth.
Okay. Yeah.
What's interesting is
Yeah.
the document actually mentions a specific example from the author's own life where they were feeling really lost, unsure of their direction, feeling burnt out
I've been there.
from a particular project and struggling to find their next step.
I can relate to that feeling of being lost.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So that's where those creative clues come back into play.
Okay.
They started paying attention to those sparks of inspiration, those hints that maybe they were meant for something different.
Interesting.
They started journaling, exploring new hobbies, having conversations with people outside their usual circle.
Okay.
And eventually, those clues led them to their next big project.
It's amazing how those little clues can lead to such huge changes.
Huge changes, yeah.
So we talked about creative clues.
Yeah.
We talked about creative dialogue. We talked about creative journey. What are some of the other rooms that stand out?
There's one called Creative Landscape that I think is really powerful.
All right.
It's about taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture of your life.
Yeah.
Imagine zooming out from the specific events of your journey and seeing the whole terrain, all the mountains and valleys, the winding rivers.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It's about seeing the context of your life, all the different forces and influences that have shaped who you are.
It's about recognizing that your journey isn't happening in the vacuum, but within a rich and complex ecosystem.
This is making me think about the document itself. It's like the author's creative landscape is shaping this whole framework.
You're hitting on something really important there.
Okay.
The author brings up this thing called the self-referential effect.
Yeah, that was a little mind-bendy.
Yeah.
Where the process
of creating this framework becomes a strategic life narrative.
Whoa. So the
living out the concepts in and of itself.
Living out the concepts as they write about them.
It's like a project.
That's so meta.
Reflecting on itself, which creates this feedback loop of self-awareness.
Yeah.
The more the author creates, the more they understand themselves. The more they understand themselves, the more effectively they can create.
It's never-ending.
It's a beautiful thing.
Cycle of growth.
It is.
So we've touched on some of the theme and practice rooms. What about the space rooms?
Yes, the space rooms, those are all about the places, both physical and virtual, where our creativity comes to life. We've got creative works, which are the tangible outputs.
Okay, so that's the actual...
of our efforts.
Product?
Yeah, so things like books, paintings, inventions, businesses, anything you create
makes sense
and put out into the world.
So what about the spaces where those creations come to life?
That's where creative centers come in.
Okay.
So these are the physical or virtual spaces that foster creativity and collaboration.
Right.
So think about artist studios, writers' retreats, innovation labs, even online communities.
Right. So it's like
where people come together,
an incubator,
to share ideas, support each other's work.
For that creative energy.
Exactly.
So where do those creations go once they're ready? To be shared with the world?
That's where creative platforms come in.
Okay.
These are the larger systems and structures that support and amplify our creative endeavors.
So like the launch pad.
Think about educational institutions, funding organizations, publishing houses, social media platforms, even social movements.
Wow.
That provide a platform for creative voices.
Each room builds on the previous one.
Yeah, you got
to create this.
And it all comes back to this idea
ecosystem
of strategically crafting your life's narrative, both as an individual and as part of a larger community.
It's so comprehensive.
It is.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
But that's the beauty of it. This House of Creative Life Curation, it's a tool you can revisit again and again each time, uncovering new insights and applications.
Thinking about how I can apply this to my own life.
I love that.
Especially the idea of creative clues.
Yeah.
And how they can guide us towards.
And remember, those clues can come from anywhere.
Right.
So be open
Okay.
To unexpected sources of inspiration.
Okay.
Before we get too carried away, though,
okay.
there's one last element we need to touch on.
Okay.
Which is something the author calls the self-referential effect.
Oh, right. The mind-bending concept
of the project reflecting
on itself.
Of itself.
But how does that play out in practice?
Right.
Well, imagine this.
Okay.
The author is writing this book about strategic life narrative.
Okay.
But in the process of writing, they're actually living out the principles described.
So the book has become...
And noticing their own creative clues. They're engaging in...
strategic life narrative.
Creative dialogue.
Wow.
With their readers and peers. That's incredible.
And they're constantly reflecting.
Yeah.
On their creative journey.
So that self-awareness.
Exactly.
That constant reflection.
Cycle is what fuels that.
Of growth and evolution.
Cycle growth.
They're not just talking the talk.
And evolution. They're not just talking the talk.
Walking the walk.
They're walking the walk.
And that authenticity. It shines through.
It's like this whole thing is alive.
It is. It's not static.
Right.
It's dynamic,
And constantly evolving.
This process of self-discovery.
And that's what makes it so powerful.
That's exactly it.
It's not like a formula. Yeah. It's about finding what works.
About empowering individuals to take control of their own narratives, shape their own futures.
We've talked a lot about, the author's journey, but I'm curious about our listeners. That's the million-dollar question.
How can they start
applying this? I think it all comes back
to their own lives.
To that house of creative life curation, right?
Okay.
Imagine you're designing your own version.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Of that house.
Yeah.
What kind of rooms?
What kind of rooms would I have?
Would you have?
Yeah.
What are those themes that run through your life?
Okay.
What practices bring you joy? Make you feel most alive?
Those are good questions.
What kind of spaces nurture your creativity?
Yeah. And I think they're ones we all should be asking.
Yeah. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
Of self-reflection.
So instead of just
passively
living, you can
actively shape it.
And through this lens.
Right. Through the lens of
strategic life narrative.
Strategic life narrative.
Yeah. And remember,
it's not about perfection.
For having all the answers.
It's about being open.
Right.
To new possibility. Embracing the unknown.
Trusting the process.
Beautifully said.
This has been a really...
It's about having that courage.
Yeah.
To step into the unknown.
Insightful.
See where those creative clues lead you.
Deep dive.
It has been an insightful deep dive.
We've explored the distinction.
We have.
Between strategic life narrative.
Yeah.
And...
explored that distinction.
Creative life curation.
Yeah.
We unpacked that.
We did.
Self-referential effect.
Unpacked that.
Took a journey.
We took a journey.
Through those 12 rooms.
Through the 12 rooms.
The house.
Oh.
The house.
It's been a pleasure.
It really has.
To share these ideas with you.
Yeah. And I hope it sparked some inspiration.
We hope it sparked some inspiration.
For our listeners. If you're feeling inspired.
Yeah.
To design.
If you are feeling.
Our own house of creative life curation.
To design your own house.
Yeah.
We encourage you, grab
a notebook, start brainstorming.
What are those themes
that define your life?
What practices bring you joy? What spaces nurture your creativity?
And remember your house is
a work in progress.
It's constantly
evolving and expanding
as you grow and learn.
So keep exploring.
Keep
creating.
And keep building.
And keep building your own
strategic life narrative.
Strategic life narrative. Until next time.
Happy deep diving.